Bulls pick a strong side who are going to be hard to beat at Loftus. My name's Mark, let's talk rugby. Okay, so Bulls versus Leinster. This one is going to be shorter than maybe my regular videos because we've already done a preview of the semi-finals as a whole. So we've gone through things like the form of the teams coming into this, how they got here as well, and their history in knockout stages. So this is going to be a look at the teams picked by each of the clubs, and then just an update on how I feel the game is going to go. So we're going to start with the home team, which is the Bulls. Although if you listen to a lot of the media, you would think that was Leinster at home, but Bulls. So front row is Gerhard Steenkamp, Johan Grobler, and Wilco Low. Fantastic front row there. I think these guys have been in great form. At hooker, you got Grobler. You've also got Acker, Van der Merwe on the bench. These two guys are going to be swapping in and out of the team through the season, and both of them have a try threat. And both of them loved getting involved as well at the breakdown too. So whoever starting and finishing was always going to be a strong position for them. Obviously up against a strong duo on the other side as well, but don't discount these guys. And my money, the Bulls have a better maul than Leinster do as well. Then Steenkamp and Lowe have done pretty well in set piece for the Bulls as well. Again, busy around the park. The second row, then you got Ruan Vermaak, had a decent season, and then Ruan Nortje, another one of these guys who maybe outside of the URC you don't hear as much about him, maybe but again, if you watch enough of URC, kind of the way I do, this guy is very talented and very tough as well. Back row then again just keeps going. You got Marco van Staden, Elric Klo, and Cameron Hanekom. And the Bulls have got a lot of depth in the back row, and this looks like a fairly balanced back row for them too. On to then the halfbacks. Ambrose Papier. Papier's his ability to link play and just that snappy pass as well, he's going to cause problem. Then Johan Hussen, the guy, he's a threat with ball in hand. He's great off the tee, and he's got a good kicking game as well. Really well-rounded 10, and again, I'd say certainly you look at the two teams, and I think 10 is certainly a position where the Bulls have a definite advantage. I'd say 9 you'd probably give it to Leinster, just given the form of Gibson Park this year, but the halfbacks as a pairing I think are fairly close. Then into the back line, we've got Devin Williams on the left wing, got Harold Vorster, who I thought had a very good semi-final, David Creel, who's had an excellent season, and then Sergei Peterson there on the right wing. So in the wings, no Arnse, 2 tries in the semi-final last week, and I believe it was a fractured cheekbone is what's kept him out of this one. Then you got Willie LaRue, a fullback. Like, that guy is just class, just oozes class. He's a brilliant fullback, and again, that's a position I'd say you definitely have to give the advantage to the Bulls on that one. On the bench then, we talked about Acker Van der Merwe before. The guy loves scoring a try. Then we have Simpwehi, I think, Matanzima. So and then you got Francois Klopper as well there. So decent sub props as well. I think again, if you look at the Leinster bench, the props, they're decent as well, but I think for both teams you'd say that the starting props are definitely the better ones in terms of giving you performance over longer during the game. Then we have Reinhard Ludwig and Nizam Carr, Keegan Jonas, Chris Smith and Cornell Smith. So both Smiths very capable of coming on in the game. I think they're probably going to be some of the most impact that the Bulls are going to have off the bench as well, is those two guys coming on as well. So very strong team from the Bulls, and it just shows the depth in South African rugby as well. Like a lot of these guys, in Europe, maybe not, household names, but a lot of them are there. Like, there's obviously Springboks in there, but there's guys there who are knocking on the door as well, and guys who maybe even not in consideration for Springboks, but are really good players, and you think about, how many South African players there are playing in the Premiership, over in Japan as well, and then in the other URC teams as well, and then you look at this team and think, geez, like it's hard to pick a bad player, honestly, out of that 23. And there's guys who aren't here due to injury or, just couldn't get into the squad as well, who are still top quality players too. So that's their team. Then we'll have a look at the Leinster team next. So Leinster, fullback Jimmy O'Brien, he's only recently kind of back from injury, but he's been in decent form since he's come back. So, and with no Keenan there, they've gone from him over Frawley to start a fullback, and that kind of, the thing with Frawley is versatility, kind of almost makes it, not going to say impossible, but makes it more likely that he's going to be on the bench because he can cover so many positions rather than starting. Then you got Jordan Larmour, who's had a real resurgence this season. Gary Ringrose finally coming back after all these. Gary Ringrose will be back like for the semi-final of the Champions Cup and then the final, and he's going to be back for the Connacht game. He's going to be back for this and that, and then now finally he's back and just come straight into the team. For me, I probably would have put him on the bench, but the guy is class. So you can see why he was brought straight in. Then you got Robbie Henshaw. Then is moving back to 12 to make room for Gary there at 13. James Lowe, like the guy is such a brilliant finisher, and there's going to be more now, I feel, on him in terms of kicking in this game because of the other backs that have been picked, because before you would have had the likes of Frawley or an Osborne or something in there who got long boots as well on them. But Jimmy O'Brien, I guess, can kick a bit from fullback, but you don't have that. Like James Lowe is going to be the left-footed kicker, so there's going to be more on him in this game, I think, in terms of kicking. Ross Byrne then at 10. A lot of people probably would have looked at the impact Prendergast had off the bench and would have been expecting that he would be involved somewhere, and somewhere calling for him to start. But the way Leinster have gone about it, you can see that Ross Byrne, whether it's right or wrong, is the number one. So if he's fit and available, he's going to be there at 10. James Park then, excellent season for Leinster, and just been in brilliant form. Like he's in such form that people are comparing him to Dupont, and you've got to be in amazing form to be mentioned anywhere in the same breath as that guy. So just shows you how good he's been doing. Andrew Porter, definitely much better this year than last year. Still has that question mark over scrums. When he gets on the wrong side of the referee, can he turn around? He's doing a little bit better this year than he did in other years. Then Dan Sheehan there at hooker, just an excellent all-around rugby player, really. He's going to give them so much in the loose as well. Tyke Furlong, if they need him to play 10, he like last week, he's like, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, watch me draw this defender. Keep two of them busy and just put Osborne right through a hole. Then second row, Joe McCarthy has been real revelation since he's broken into this Leinster team. Now beside James Ryan, who takes over the captaincy. So Ryan, I guess, is back to somewhere close to full fitness. Otherwise, he wouldn't be starting. I think back row then has a bit more of a familiar, look to it. It's been chopped and changed recently, but Ryan Baird, Josh Van der Fleer, and Caelan Doris would be, if everybody's in form and fit, that's the kind of back row you'd expect to be picked. Onto the bench then, got Kelleher there, who for me needs to provide more impact off off the bench. Before, his point of difference was that, if he come on for Sheen, he could sort out the line out. He's been a bit, suspect in that regard recently, so I'd like to see that better from him. Healy is just amazing. That guy's kept going, and he's going to give you. Alaalatoa, possibly his final game for Leinster, if they lose this one. So wants to go out, wants to make sure, first of all, that it won't be his last game, but wants to give a good account of himself, I think. From there, Ross Maloney, one of those guys, he's kind of similar to Rhys Ruddock, really, that, he's been around the squad, and he never really gets mentioned in terms of, too much in terms of representing Ireland, but still does a great job for Leinster, and losing him at the end of the season as well. So again, their guy could be his last game. Conan there on the bench, certainly there could be questions about, in terms of him moving on as well, just for the fact, to another province, just for the fact that, he's almost always on the bench, and, you'd love to see him just be a team's starting number 8 in Ireland, be that like Ulster or Connacht or wherever. But then like Deegan, who's even behind him again, was supposed to go to Ulster, and he won't leave either. So, what can you do? Then you got McGrath there at 9. There's definite drop off when he comes on for Gibson Park. And you can see, like, with Foley getting more game time this year, that they're probably going to transition away from him. But still, it's not a slight on McGrath. It's just the fact that Gibson Park is at that level where if he could play the 80 minutes, you'd want him to play the 80 minutes. McGrath, come on, he'll do certain things, well, but other things maybe not up to the level that Gibson Park can do. Frawley then, as we talked about, covers so many positions from there. And Jamie Osborne is so happy that he's in the squad, because he's worried that, all the talk of Ringrose coming back in the team, maybe he would drop out of the match day 23, and that probably would have happened if they had gone for a 6-2 split rather than a 5-3 split. So those are our two teams, and again, people are probably going to say, oh, like that Leinster bench is going to be the difference, and etc. And I said the same in the quarterfinal. I'll say the same for the semi-final. That if Leinster have a lead, like by maybe 10 points or more, right around the time when this bench is supposed to come on. So like normally they'll come on now, like they do this whole thing of give a guy 3 minutes in the second half and replace him, right? So between 43 minutes to like 50-60 minutes, right, you're going to see some of the bench come on, and then the rest will come on in the last 20 minutes if they come on at all, because sometimes guys just sit on the bench for the whole thing. I don't think that'll happen with any of these players. I think they're happy enough for any of them to come on. But if Leinster can get to that kind of 60-minute mark or 55-60-minute mark with that kind of 10 points or more lead, I think then the bench does come on and maybe gives them that little bit of cushion in terms of winning the game. But then if they're behind in going into that same period, I'm not sure that this is the bench that you really want to come on to kick things on. You could see like I'd say 2 players, maybe 3 players coming on, which would be like Conan coming on because of his ability to link play, then Frawley as well coming on. But then if Frawley's coming on, it probably means that Ross Byrne has had a poor game, and maybe you're playing a little bit of too much catch up then in that state. And then Osborne coming on as well. You can imagine him actually coming on for an injury rather than coming on to make a difference. But then the rest of the guys coming on, you can't really see them improving things beyond the who's already on there, because if you're bringing Healy and Alaalatoa on, it probably means that the scrum has been under pressure and you're just trying to get parity, so you're not necessarily going to provide that impetus to actually win a game. And if Kelleher is coming on and you're expecting him to make a big difference, it's because the line out has gone to crap and he needs to sort it out for you. So a lot of these guys, if they're coming on and really have the impact over the people that are starting ahead of them is because Leinster are in trouble in a certain area, rather than coming on and lifting them beyond what they were doing before and actually driving them on to victory. It's more kind of steadying the ship that you could see for a lot of these guys. But as I talked about, the Bulls bench as well, their guys coming on impact. Again, I think it's going to be, Aka van der Merwe coming on, potentially getting, a try from the back of a decent maul, and then both Smiths coming on and providing some impetus. So say for both teams, you got 3 guys on the bench who, you could certainly argue are going to come on and absolutely have an impact whatever way the game is going. And then the rest of the benches then, I think, depend on how certain areas are going for both teams. Okay, so that's our look at the teams. As I said, we've already talked about the form and how they got here, etc. in the other videos. So if you want to see any chat about that, go look at that. But for me, having looked at the teams, I'm going to stick with my original one. Is probably more with the heart than the head, is a Leinster win. And again, my reasoning for that, if you're not going to go and watch the other video, is because I feel like that Leo Cullen has finally decided, listen, we've got to take the URC actually seriously, and he basically feel like he wants to get a trophy before maybe stepping down, or even just talking to the Leinster branch about possibly stepping down at some point in the future. That's just a personal feeling. There's no rumors flying around about or anything like that. That's how I feel. So because of that, I feel like this then the way the Leinster team are prepared and everything is just slightly different to the last few years, and therefore I think that they're going to win, but not by much. I think it's going to be a very close game, and I think it's going to be a very enjoyable game. Okay, so that's that one. I'm now going to record the other semi-final preview, the Munster Glasgow one as well. So I'll see you guys on that one.